Behind the Candelabra is an absolutely fabulous film. I only watched this because Debbie Reynolds is in it, and to be perfectly honest, there are things that I do not like about her character, and I'll talk about those in a bit. But despite all of that, and despite the fact she's barely in it, this film is incredible. It was released in 2013, directed by Steven Soderbergh, and it's won 2 Golden Globes, 41 other awards, and an additional 53 nominations. So we will very briefly look at some of those awards once I've finished rambling on about other things. But that is impressive, and I know it's a very popular and very well-loved film. I just never got round to it, and I can now say 100% worth the wait. It's gorgeous. So the description from IMDb is as follows. A chronicle of the tempestuous 6-year romance between megastar singer Liberace and his young lover Scott Thorson. Now, I need to say, I knew nothing about Liberace. I'd heard of Liberace, I hadn't heard of Scott Thorson. But I didn't know anything about Liberace as a person or his life, and I cannot say how accurate this is. I feel like I understand him more as a person now and what his life was like, but I can't vouch for the accuracy. So if you do know anything about it that suggests it maybe wasn't 100% accurate, feel free to let me know. I'd be interested to know where there are any maybe discrepancies. But as it suggests, this looks at Liberace when he meets his younger lover, Scott. This is obviously a homosexual relationship, and it looks at kind of the ups and downs of the relationship and how it kind of peaks and then the problems that arise after that. And it takes us right up to Liberace's death, which is quite a prominent thing in itself. It's very difficult to talk about this because I feel like I want to say I'm not going to give you any spoilers. And for me, there would have been spoilers because I knew nothing about this. But at the same time, this is based on truth, and a lot of people are fully aware of Liberace. So I'm not going to give anything away, but it's not so much a case of there being spoilers. For me, what made this great are the performances. And Matt Damon played Scott Thorson, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I thought his performance was great. I obviously don't have anything to base it off of because I don't know anything about Scott Thorson as a person, other than what I've learned here. What's very peculiar is that on the IMDb cast list, it's top billed, and Michael Douglas is quite far down. Admittedly, he doesn't appear in it for a little while, but when he appears, you know Liberace is on the screen. He is attention-stealing, the limelight is always on him, he oozes charisma and fabulousness, such a great entertainer, fantastic pianist, wonderful musician. That's the impression I get from this film. Very sexually explorative, but very passionate. And that's really lovely to see in certain ways. And as I said, it follows his relationship with Scott, and it's a very extravagant, lavish, flamboyant relationship and lifestyle. The costumes in this are impeccable. There's one line that's Matt Damon as Scott talks about his jacket having its own car because of how lavish and expensive it is. And that's pretty much the theme for the film. It's very extravagant. And that really gives us a good look into Liberace's lifestyle and just what kind of a person he was. I find that he's very likeable as a character. There are moments where he's quite negative, as the narrative takes it that way. But I kind of always liked him, but I also always liked Scott. I thought both performances were really good and really engaging, but I didn't really know when things got tough whose side I was supposed to be on. I'd assume Liberace, but I don't really know, to be perfectly honest with you. So for me, the performances, as far as I'm concerned, were wonderful to watch. The narrative was so gripping, and it's easy to forget that this is not a biopic. Sorry, it's easy to forget that this is a biopic because it is so fantastic and so fantastical, I guess, that when you sit back and realise that this is based on reality and a real person, and this is what Liberace was apparently like, it's quite crazy and quite out there, and it makes me want to go and read more about Liberace and learn more about his life and who he was and his accomplishments. The music, brilliant, visually fantastic, costumes, incredible. I will see if I can find out who did the costumes just now, while I talk a little bit about Debbie Reynolds. So, Debbie Reynolds, this was obviously, unfortunately, one of her last films. She plays Liberace's mother. And there are two things I don't like about this. And it's not her performance itself. It's just the character. I just don't feel like this role was anything like any other role she's had before. Costume design is by Ellen Miornik. Completely apologise if I pronounced that incorrectly. I'm sure I did. Debbie Reynolds' character has an accent, which I don't like for Debbie Reynolds, because I always love to hear her voice. I love the dulcet, honey sweet tones of her own voice. And even as it gets a bit gravelly sometimes, it's just, I love it. I love her. So I didn't like that. And she's also playing a very old character. And she looks old and frail. And I don't like seeing that in Debbie Reynolds. She's playing a character who's older than she is in real life. Or at least more decrepit than she was. That sounds awful. So I didn't really take too well to Debbie on screen. And I actually think I was more upset by that than if she'd not been in it at all. But I got past that pretty quickly. The rest of the film is insane. So the Golden Globes it won. Best Performance by an Actor in a Miniseries or Motion Picture Made for Television, Michael Douglas. And it also won Best Miniseries or Motion Picture Made for Television. It won an Art Direction Primetime Emmy, Costume Primetime Emmy, Hairstyling Primetime Emmy, I guess. More Emmys, lots more Emmys, a lot of Emmy nominations. It had some BAFTA nominations, but no wins. Michael Douglas won the Screen Guild Actors Award. I'm just gonna see what, if anything, it got at the Academy Awards. I don't know what kind of order these are in. The film was, it was absolutely sensational, and I've never really seen a biopic that's quite as extravagant as this, and I think it did just such a splendid job. Oddly, I can't seem to find the Academy Awards on this list, which is very peculiar. It was absolutely incredible. There is nothing about this film I did not like, subject, of course, to Debbie Reynolds, which I never thought I would be saying. If you haven't seen this, you must. If you can, make it the next film you watch, because it's just incredible. It is colossal, it's extravagant, and it's beautiful.